It's the end of February, and that means one thing, getting set to head out to Indianapolis for the NFL Scouting Combine. I'm Phil Milani alongside Aric, DiLalla, and the Hall of Famer, Steve Atwater. That sounds pretty good.
Sounds pretty good, man. I like that.
You like it. You're getting used to it now.
Trying to. Yeah.
We have a preview of what to expect in Indianapolis. Guys, what position group do you think the Broncos are going to be paying the most attention to in Indy?
For me, right away, I think the wide receiver position. We're trying to get Drew Lock as many weapons as possible, and I think we need some protection for him as well. So I say wide receiver and interior offensive line.
Offense is where I'd go with that first pick. I mean, part of what I think about is what needs can you supplement in free agency before you get to the draft, and I kind of think that some of those defensive players maybe you can grab in free agency, whereas you want to develop your wide receiver. Maybe you don't want to overpay for an offensive lineman. So that's where I would look. But, it is a deep class in terms of defensive linemen as well. And maybe you find a cornerback.
This is one of the best wide receiver classes that we've seen in a very long time. Talent all across. Two of them are from Alabama. I know that you like them, Steve.
Man, specifically Jerry Jeudy, man. This guy can stop on a dime. I mean, I'm almost concerned that he may hurt his knee making cuts, making other people miss. But he's got great speed, great hands, great body control, runs amazing routes. I think he's going to be the number one receiver off the board. I don't think he'll be there for us at 15, but if we like him enough, hey, maybe we'd make some type of trade. We got quite a few picks to make a trade and move up.
And Henry Ruggs is the other guy that a lot of the speedster that the people think maybe the Broncos will be looking at.
Yeah, he's another guy there. Daniel Jeremiah, he said that he expects Henry Ruggs to run that 4.2 range when he does a 40-yard dash. And, man, some speed on the outside to complement Cortland Sutton. That could be really nice for Drew Lock. Something I'm interested to see with Ruggs is he didn't have quite the production that Jerry Jeudy, that CD Lamb had. So, how does that translate? How much do you weigh that during this process? Because both those other guys, they were up near 1,200, 1,300 yards. He only had 40 catches, I believe, 750 yards. So how much do you weigh what they did in their final season versus that potential?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's only one ball on the field. I mean, you wonder why is he the low guy on the totem pole. I guess I see what you're saying.
So some two great Alabama wide receivers there, and then you mentioned CD Lamb. That's another option. What about the hometown product, Laviska Shenault?
Now, Laviska Shenault, man, I like him too. He's 6'2", 225 pounds. Now, normally I like to see the wide receivers a little bit lighter than that. I like, if you're 6'2", maybe 190, 200 pounds. But, man, he can play multiple positions. He's versatile. He can run with the ball after the catch. The only thing is he's been injured a little bit, and that's going to be something that teams are going to be concerned about a little bit.
Yeah, questions there with Laviska. And then with CD Lamb, for me, it's maybe how physical is he going to be against some of these NFL cornerbacks. I thought in the college football playoff semifinal, he maybe struggled a little bit against those LSU DBs, got pushed around, wasn't able to get quite as open. So that's something he'll have to explain to teams because he did end up with more than 100 yards in that game. But watching it, he didn't have the type of game that I'm sure he'd tell you he'd want on that stage.
So wide receiver is likely to shine there in Indianapolis. One other position group that the Broncos could be looking at is interior defensive line. Not sure what's going to happen here with Shelby Harris, Derek Wolfe, some free agency question marks along the defensive line. Steve, I know there's one guy from South Carolina you had your eye on.
Yeah, Javon Kinlaw. We got a chance to meet him at the Senior Bowl, and the guy is a man. He reminds me of standing next to big Calais Campbell. He's 6'6", 6'7", just huge human being, and he's a kind, gentle guy, but he's a beast when he gets on the field. I think he was limping around a little bit. I don't think he played in the actual Senior Bowl game, but he's one heck of a player that's going to make a difference for a team. And he's another guy who I don't know if he'll be there at 15. One
thing about the Combine is that you've always got guys that maybe aren't as on the radar heading into Indianapolis, and then a big performance. They shine, they rise up draft boards. I mean, you look at Noah Fant last year. He wasn't a guy that was necessarily being talked about for a top 20 pick, and then all of a sudden he ran that 4.40, and it was like, man, this guy's got some speed. He's got a chance to be, productive in the league, and the Broncos chose to take him at 20. So I'll be interested to see which of these guys really increases their stock from their performance there.
This athleticism on display on the turf, but as they call it, the underwear Olympics. Steve, you put a lot of stock in what you see on the field?
The work is done now, and the Combine is just kind of a wrapping on everything, and you're kind of verifying what you thought was what it is. So yeah, a guy coming out and looking a little bit more muscular than he was at first, I don't think that's going to make a big thing. Now, if a guy comes out and bench presses less than he should, just say you have a defensive line, just say you got Javon Kinlaw, he comes out and does 6 bench presses, yeah, it's going to raise some red flags, but I doubt that'll happen with him. He seems like a guy that's going to work hard and come in there ready to perform.
And the combine always kind of seems to me like a smoke and mirror show because coaches and execs, they don't want to give too much away as to what they're thinking. You've got this big media horde last year around Kyler Murray and, what's going to happen with him, but the Broncos are very cautious with who they show interest in. Some teams slow play things, so we always try to figure out what's real, what's not real, and that's part of the fun of the combine.
Kind of poker, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve, what'd you run in the 40? 4.4.
Start with a 4?
Right.
Ran a 4.66 at the combine.
No.
I was flying. Phil, that was good back in the day.
And you're a Hall of Famer, see?
Hey, this right there matter?
Exactly. It doesn't matter. The meeting time maybe a little bit more important in Indy, plus some of the steakhouses, right? That's what it's all about.
That's important, man.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. They got to get the what's the shrimp?
The shrimp cocktail.
Shrimp cocktail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gotta get it. That's what it's all about.
Phil puts down the steak with the best of them.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe like 3 or 4 steak nights out there. So we'll see. I don't know. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Steve Atwater, Aric DiLalla, I'm Phil Milani.